Hello everyone, welcome to Foshty. My name is Ezamai Abi and today I am interviewing Micah Inye. Awesome. I'll let Mike introduce himself and I'm very excited to have him on here. He is from Jollof Republik, but he'll tell us a little bit more about himself and his company.
Yes, my name is Micah Inye. Like she said, I'm the founder and CEO of Jollof Republik. It's a social networking platform for people of African descent.
Awesome. Social networking platform?
Correct.
Okay. All right. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. So I like to start my conversations off with where do you call home? Because I think that's a question that gets really complicated really fast for some people.
And I can see why.
Right.
I can see why, especially for those of us who are immigrants.
Right. Right.
Home can be a very complex definition.
Absolutely.
Right. So, for me, my home is wherever I walk in and my wife is there.
Okay.
So my heart is.
Okay.
Right. So anywhere I find myself comfortable with my family, immediate family, that's home for me.
That's home.
But I'm originally born and raised in Nigeria.
Okay.
From Abia State.
Okay. Were you born in Abia?
I was born in Lagos.
In Lagos.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I
grew up there.
So before you got married, where would you have called home? Because I noticed the reference to wherever your wife is and where you walk in, but before marriage,
that's an interesting
how did
question.
you feel about home? Where was home?
Home for me was Nigeria.
It was still in
Nigeria. Okay. I had a lot of my family, immediate family, still live there, so that's where.
Are your parents there?
No, they're here now.
They're here now.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
All right.
Family, siblings, parents and siblings are here.
Everyone's here.
Yeah.
Awesome. So when did you grow up? I mean, you were born in Lagos. Did you grow up in Nigeria for an extended period?
Yes.
Did you move? Okay.
Yeah, I grew up through high school.
Through high school?
Yeah.
Did you finish high school?
I finished high school, started college.
Started college in Nigeria?
Yes,
okay.
yes, University of Lagos.
Okay, Unilag. Okay, cool.
Yeah, did you go there?
I didn't go there, but
Okay.
of course you hear of Unilag. I left after JS3, so I actually didn't get to finish high school.
Okay.
Or get the college experience, which I hear is really fantastic.
It is. You missed out a lot.
I know. I've heard. So you came here. What was that journey? What prompted that plan? Was that always part of the plan? Like, how did that happen?
It was always in the prayer plan, but there was no direct roadmap.
No actual plan.
To moving here.
There, right?
Yeah, absolutely. With all the incessant strikes that we have back in Nigeria, it was almost like you'll never graduate college, at this rate. So my mom got the diversity visa lottery.
Visa lottery
yeah, so I was fortunate I was still under 21. So qualified. With the quickness.
Everyone came out. That is so awesome when that happens.
Let's look.
For me, I hear about it, but I actually don't know anyone that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know anyone that personally that worked out for it. That is good. So how many siblings? You said you were under 18 or 21?
21. Yeah. So it's 5 of us. I have 4 siblings.
Okay.
So I have 2 older sisters who didn't make the trip at the time. So at the time the family was kind of split, half here and half in Nigeria.
Right.
So that's what.
So how old were you?
I was 20.
You were 20.
Yeah.
And then you had 2 younger brothers or sisters?
I have a younger brother and a younger sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all 3 of you came to the U.S.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you come to the U.S. and then what's that experience for you? What was your initial impressions? What was it like to have your family pick up and move to the U.S. and now you're here?
It was a very interesting experience. I mean, my uncle was here, so he helped a lot with the transition.
Right.
And just learning everything, understanding what people meant when they said certain things.
Right.
For me, I pride myself in speaking Queen's English.
But you weren't.
It's completely different.
Right, you weren't speaking the right language.
Not in Houston, Texas.
Not in Houston, Texas,
so
indeed.
Just learning about how people communicated verbally and non-verbally. With the head nod and the way they're dressed. All of that.
Like, what does that mean?
Exactly. I was very confused, but so that was a very interesting journey for me. And, but like I said, my uncle helped us with the transition and just taking it slow. Every time I had a question, I'd pick up the phone. Uncle, what's up?
Was he generally younger or was
he was older. He was older.
Did he have kids?
He had kids. Okay. Yeah. But he was still very well aware. He was one of those hip uncles.
Not an uncle where you ask him, it says me, I don't know.
Exactly.
You figure it out.
No.
What's going on?
Yeah,
right.
he stayed very relevant. So.
That's cool. So what was the most challenging part of that? I mean, you're adjusting and sort of getting, acclimated to where you are, but you're also leaving a whole life, right? You're leaving a whole set of friends, ideas about who you are.
Right.
So what were some of the challenges that you experienced with that transition?
For me, it was growing up very quickly.
Okay.
Having to go to school and keeping a job.
Okay.
And being a role model for your kids.
Oh, okay.
For my siblings, I'm sorry.
Right, no, I got you.
I don't have no kids, Mom. No, but just playing that role, like, one day you're like, oh, it's mommy and daddy's business, talk to them, and then the next day they ask you for guidance, and you essentially leading and having people grow. Right. So that was a little challenging, but exciting at the same time. Because I felt I was up to the task. So I was like, okay, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. So I had to keep a full-time job, go to school, and make all the right decisions, not just for me, but for the younger ones. So, Right. So when you started, so there's working and then there is, of course, the education part of it. When you started working, what sort of jobs did you get access to initially? So I was fortunate. I got a job at the airport, Hobby Airport.
Nice.
Yeah, as a pre-board screener. That's what it was called then. Today's TSA.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that for a little bit over a year.
Yeah.
And then I transitioned to air training with like a promotion.
Okay.
I was now an airline employee with all the flight benefits.
With all the benefits of that. That's pretty good because not a lot of people get access to jobs that are good, right?
Yes.
Especially when you first come in.
Yes.
So that is nice that you got access to something that was pretty good, pretty stable, and definitely probably commanded a full-time schedule.
Yes, it did.
Right.
Yes, it did. Right. And they were very inflexible as well. So just managing that school schedule.
So when were you going to school? Like what was the school schedule? What was school timing?
I didn't have a particular school schedule. I might take a class at 8 a.m. I'd take the next one at 4 p.m.
Okay.
So I was all over the place and I had to fit that into my work schedule.
Your job. Did you know what you wanted to study? Like when you first of all, what were you studying in the Unilag? I don't know how the structure, if you're very clear from year one what you were going to do, and did you continue with that path here?
No, I didn't continue. So in Unilag, I was studying economics, business school, and when I moved here, everybody would, how everybody gets in your ear, like, you should do this and do this.
No. Yeah, this is the way. This is
right.
The way
So there was a lot of noise, and it was very difficult for me to filter through it all.
Yeah.
So I opted to do the computer engineering route.
Okay.
That's how I started.
The hot thing then.
Yeah.
All right. Did you finish?
No, I didn't. No, I learned very quickly. I wasn't cut for that.
Really?
Yeah. No.
What did you like about it?
I didn't have the time.
Okay.
Right. So with my work schedule, I was young and probably, I didn't make all the right decisions. So I put my work before school.
Okay.
And I missed a lot of classes because I couldn't get time off of work.
To make it.
Yeah, so I missed tests, exams, all that stuff, and it was difficult trying to catch up.
Right.
I was taking C language, C+.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was just tough catching up. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get back to what I truly know and understand, which is in business school.
Okay.
And so I switched.
So you switched to that, and then you finished business school. So what was? I guess at that point, by the time you're done with school, you're pretty much acclimated to this environment. And
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah, I was a double major, studied finance and accounting.
Okay.
It's like, okay, I can do this.
So getting out, easy to get a job.
Yeah. I was fortunate. I got a job before I graduated.
Nice.
So the last semester was kind of like, I already have a job waiting on me. So
I don't need to stress about this.
Yeah.
All right. So now you're working. What were your parents doing at this time? Because did they both move?
They moved at different times.
Okay.
So my mom stayed there.
Okay.
She was a school administrator. So she started off at Queens College. She worked there for several years, and then ended as a principal at Federal Government College, Ledger, down in the East somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then when you guys came, you came with your dad.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how was it? I mean, you being the first son, well, no, the son with him here,
right,
and him transitioning as well.
right.
What was that experience like?
I mean, I could tell he was also struggling with, getting integrated into this whole
culture,
American culture.
system.
Yeah. And he took it in strides. He went back and took classes and.
Oh, he went back to school.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
And a lot of times he'll always wonder, like, man, why are we even here?
Like,
let's go back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, we moved here, for an opportunity to get a better life.
Yeah. So you found yourself really encouraging him.
Of course.
Yeah.
I had to. Because like I said, everybody was in that space where nobody knew what to expect the next day. If you think it was Christmas Day, all you remember back in Nigeria, Christmas Day, everybody's relaxing.
Everyone's relaxing and chill.
Eating and no, but here you have to go to work
at
the same time.
Right.
So going through those motions year in, year out, sometimes I had to, give the pep talk.
Be the one to stay focused. So at this point, and I know I'm jumping around a little bit, how has it been? So how long has it been since you guys, or since he transitioned? It's
been 19, 20
years. Okay. So does he ever have plans or thoughts to go back? Does your dad still kind of have that fantasy sometimes of saying, oh, I know?
Very rarely.
Okay.
Yeah, very rarely.
So
it's comfortable here.
He's comfortable, he's fully in, he's
right.
good. Okay. So you go through college, go through work experience, and now you have a job. So talk to me a little bit about the Jollof Republik. Is it a full-time thing? Is it sort of something you're building on the side? How did that even come up? How did the idea come up? What prompted the thought of that?
Very good question. So a lot of things happen at different times, right? But the one common denominator was, the divisive rhetoric everywhere you turn. There was just too much hate.
Okay.
And people kind of sort of losing their identity or just not trying to be identified with who they truly are.
Okay.
People who were single, Africans, and who were struggling finding a mate, who they're compatible with. So all of that, was kind of what birthed Jollof Republik.
Okay.
Trying to find a solution to.
So all of that.
Yeah.
Was there a personal experience for you, or was it just, there seems to be all of this stuff going on. How do I impact that, or how do I change that? Did you have any personal? Were you trying to solve any problem that was personal to you versus just to other people?
Not particularly.
Okay.
Not particularly. I would say though, finding my wife was not as easy as I thought it would be.
Okay.
But I would not call that a personal challenge that I faced.
Okay.
But I figured, there was definitely a way to bring people.
Make this work.
Right.
To make this easier.
Yeah.
Right. So Jollof Republik in a way addresses that.
Absolutely.
Addresses that issue.
It does.
Okay. So what were some things, and I'm asking specifically now because Jollof Republik is focused on people of African origin, right?
Yes.
So when you were searching for a mate, was there a desire or focus that the person be of African origin?
In the back of my mind, yes, it was important.
Why was that important?
Because, again, I wasn't born and raised here, right? So there's still certain things that I feel, certain places that I feel most comfortable.
Okay.
Right? And it stems back to being of African descent, like being Nigerian.
Right.
So I figured if that was the case, then most certainly, if I had a spouse who was also Nigerian
with a similar history, similar perspective,
life maybe
a little easier. Interesting. So Jollof Republik is, you mentioned social networking.
Yes.
So is that the primary focus of that?
So the primary focus is to unite people of a colorful heritage.
Okay.
Right. So it's.
I like how you phrase a colorful heritage.
Well, we have a beautiful heritage.
Right. No, I said the way you said colorful, it is. I like it. No, I like it, but it's very distinct.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So it is for the Afro and Caribbean populace.
History.
So it is just breaking down those walls and just creating synergies where we can all harness our collective resources and just be better.
Right.
You know?
So do you provide some networking, like physical networking events as well as social online platforms, or how?
Right. So what it does, we have a platform showcases professional and social events.
Okay.
And the social events are Afrocentric themed.
Okay.
Right. So if you look on there, you'll see stuff that's directly related to the continent of Africa.
All right.
You find professional development opportunities. You find career fairs, because people move and don't know how to find their feet. Get acclimated to the new environment. So it's like a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
Even if you're moving from Chicago to Houston,
you can find something.
Denver to New York.
Right.
You should get the app and say, okay, this is one.
Who is here to meet and network with? Who is here to potentially date? What are all the options that are available that are for people from the colorful heritage?
Exactly.
Interesting. So do you, and this is just because we are in a day and age where most people maintain a side business, a full-time job. Do you currently sort of have a different job, and this is sort of your passion business project, or is this a full-time, I'm invested in this?
Right. Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
I'm like the guy who has 7,000 jobs. So yeah. I do have a business and finance consultant business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your own business.
My own business.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay.
So I help smaller, medium-sized companies get better understanding of their financial statements.
Nice.
With figuring out what works, what doesn't work. Build dashboards. It's essentially FP&A, financial planning analysis.
Oh, nice. Okay. And how long have you had that?
It's going on 2 years now.
All right, great. So you're really a full-time entrepreneur. You have your business there, you have Social Republic.
Right.
Jollof Republic.
Jollof Republic.
Yeah, the social networking, Jollof Republic.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's cool. So all your time is invested in really managing your own thing.
Absolutely.
Do you feel, as an African immigrant male, do you feel pressure? There's this pressure that sometimes people talk about. You want to succeed, but you also feel like there's this additional thing because you're African in your family, and there's this external. Is there any sort of external pressure that drives your interests or your businesses or your ideas?
No, it's all internal.
It's all internal pressure.
Yeah,
okay.
I put the pressure on myself.
Really?
Yes, because
Why is that?
Because I think Jollof Republic is bigger than me. It's bigger than my wife. It's gonna impact. I believe it's gonna impact not just people today, but future generations.
Okay.
And I believe that, building a very robust platform that can positively enhance people's lives and ultimately give back to, the continent that I'm from,
right.
Where they have, lackluster infrastructure and policies and just help
that could enhance and just get better, really.
Yeah, so that's
right.
the pressure I put on myself to ensure that I'm successful.
Okay.
I try to do my bit in giving back and little
in the ways that you can.
Yeah.
So are there aspects of Jollof Republic that sort of do nonprofit stuff or projects like that? When you mentioned giving back, I was just curious.
Yeah, ultimately that will be the end goal. Not at this time. So it's all informal. We do things just quietly, non-publicized.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely the goal is to launch a non-profit platform.
That's associated with that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Something else that you mentioned when you talk about really Jollof Republic and the ideal people you want to focus on, do you sometimes have to reach out for sponsorships when you talk about career fairs or businesses and all that? Is that something that's part of your platform? Are there businesses that come in to support, or?
We welcome sponsorships every day of the week.
Okay.
But right now, we're just focusing on ensuring that user experience is stellar.
Okay. And you're just building that.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
We'll take referrals or sponsorships.
Right.
Sure.
Well, I was just curious because when you talk about, when you say career fairs and things like that and businesses and trying to engage people, I'm always curious how, and this is really part of the conversation, how easily we of colorful heritage and history
I love it.
can access sponsorship and can access people who are interested in our stories, right? And really who are interested. So it's always something that even with Foshty, I have to think about. Not that I'm doing this for sponsorship, but it becomes who is interested in this story, right? I have the passion for it. You have the passion for what you're doing.
Yeah.
But who is really interested in this story? And who is going to be interested enough to back it somehow if there should be an opportunity? So when you say career fair, I'm thinking, wow, that would be great, but how, or who comes to that, or who sponsors? So just for you, how do you know that? How does that work?
So first of all, I think everybody is interested in a good story, right? If you're telling a good story, you'll have more audience than you probably had anticipated.
Right.
That's for sure. On my end, I believe with a properly developed and launched product, it has the ability to sell itself.
Right.
So I have no worries. I don't think I have really spent time or energy to figure out how best to attract,
Yeah. So
financial
additional
resources.
input, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just believe that on its own, people would reach out and be like, "Hey, how can we?"
And eventually, as you make it good enough, as you
Right.
say, people will show up. So
And people have asked,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Even to this day, I've had people reach out and ask, "How can we partner with you?"
right, how can we make it happen?
Yes.
Okay.
What can we do to help you?
Yeah.
And this is what we're doing. Can we form a strategic partnership?
Right.
And we have those conversations already.
Okay.
But, yeah.
That's pretty cool. So now I'm going to switch a little bit because
Okay.
you mentioned, of course, marriage and being an entrepreneur. And with our culture, of course, it's, you set yourself up, you go to school, you have a good job, then you marry and have children, right?
Yes,
That's usually
yes.
how it works. So with family and, of course, just yourself, the timing
Yes.
of your professional accomplishments and marriage, was that factored into your marriage decisions? And how long have you been married now?
About 2.5 years.
2.5 years, okay. And you've had Jollof Republik for how long?
A little over a year.
Okay. So it was marriage and then I'm going to build all this stuff out.
Correct.
But you've had your financial planning business for 2 years?
Yeah, just about 2 years.
Okay, so it's a lot of things are birthed around the same time.
Yeah.
So walk me through that as a man, right?
Yeah.
The things you think about, like, okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm about to bring this woman into my life. I'm
Yes.
trying to start this business. I'm trying to do this. And then eventually someone's going to ask me about kids. How does that work?
Yeah.
How does that work? And how did your dad, I'm sure at some point he had to have gotten involved.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Yes, so, that's a very good question. And that's kind of why, I took my time in getting married because I figured there was a whole lot of things that I wanted to do in life. And I had to ensure that the woman who I call my wife will be 100% supportive.
Ready and willing to go on the journey.
Exactly, and I know it's not easy. I mean, entrepreneurship is not an easy feat, no matter how you spin it, and especially starting out where you're going through the peaks and valleys and just navigating what success should look like, right? But I also understood that my track record would have to be pretty good for me to sell this. To sell this to anybody.
Right.
Wife, parents, siblings, because they're gonna look back and be like, "You think miracle is you're just gonna wake up and it's just gonna be
you haven't been successful at everything else.
anything,
You're gonna come,
Right. So it was important for me to, be deliberate with my, academics, my first work job out of college, and be successful even as I, progressed along the line. And to this point, I felt I had to be, decently good at my craft before I could sell it to anybody else. Right. So I waited. I was in corporate for shy of 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Until I figured, okay, I think I got a gist of this. Right. I see how it works, and I'm sure I can translate the skill sets. And monetize some of this stuff. Right. So fortunately, my wife has been all in. She's been incredibly supportive, more supportive than I ever prayed for.
That's awesome.
So that's good.
Right.
And she understands, it's not it's not it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So we're in it to learn and make sure every day.
The best of it, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
So that's kind of how it's been. And selling it to my parents, it was the same way. You have to trust me.
Right.
I have not given you any reasons
right.
the last 10 years
to think about
right.
a crash and burn.
Yeah,
right.
you know. So you have to trust me, and simple time. You know, I don't see anything as a failure. I see it as an opportunity to start just more intelligently.
Process,
right? So
just another process.
Yeah.
Cool. Something that we didn't touch on, and as you were speaking, I remember that I'm not quite sure how it happened. So the decision to leave the corporate job and start, you left to start your own business.
Yes.
Walk me through that, like just that thought, because that has to be a scary thing, right? To say, I have a stable income, I'm doing pretty well at it, things are going okay or perfect, and now I'm going to shake things up and decide to go do something on my own just because I think I'll be okay. So just walk me through the process, the timing, the planning. Was there extensive planning, or was it just like, hey guys, I'm done? You know, did something happen at work? Let me and the viewers, because some people may be out there thinking about it, and just curious how that happened for you.
Don't do what I did. That's number one advice.
What did you do? How did you do it?
No, but so, have you ever heard scared money don't make no money?
Yeah.
I believe that.
Okay.
So I'm like, I'm not going to be scared.
Okay.
Because I'm scared, I'm not going to make no money.
Right? But the thing was money.
Right, no, I say that to say, while it's a scary decision to make, you have to understand that the amount of risk you take is usually directly proportional to the amount of reward, right? It may not be financial, but the reward
and
is
eventually it could be financial, but you still have to be willing to step out.
Exactamundo.
Okay.
But, starting out, I started up working in the oil and gas industry. And remember when 2014, 15, oil prices tanked, I got laid off. So that was scary, right? So I'm like, if I can go through this and make it,
you'll be fine.
I'll be fine.
Right.
I'll be fine. But of course, it still takes planning, preparation, ensure your finances are in order.
And has got to get.
Have to be sure that you can still
to
feed.
be okay.
Pay your light bill, and be okay while you run the business. Because as a finance professional, my projections are very conservative. Right? So if I project, the next 18 to 24 months, I'll probably make a third of what I was making.
You have to plan for that.
Exactly. So once you know that's okay, everything else is cake.
So just curious, right? With your financial background, so imagine someone is out there thinking of starting a business. What would be your financial advice to a young person out there thinking of starting their own business, being that you're doing it and you're also in the finance industry?
Right.
What would you tell them to do to prepare for their own, besides of course getting there, you just mentioned making sure they plan ahead, but what are some things, numbers wise, what are some things they should think about?
Well, first of all, that one individual out there, so reach out to me, I'll give you my contact.
Right. We'll ask for your contact, definitely.
But now, what I think is of utmost importance when starting a business is being as close to your numbers as possible.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, if your idea is to sell widgets, cocktails, as an example, it's important to understand, what does my cocktail glass cost me?
Okay.
And why am I selling it for 2x?
Okay.
And if I sell it for 2x versus 3x, what's my variable margin? Right. So just understanding what that means. The true cost of running a business is not just the cost of goods sold and the profits you make. Right. It's paying for the fixed cost, the licenses, and if you have a website, the server space, the true cost of running a business should be very well understood. Right. Otherwise, if you underestimate those costs, you start to make very desperate decisions that can be very costly. So just understanding worst case scenarios usually helps you plan and to take that. it's incredibly important.
Yeah.
Whether it's a product or service.
If you're not into numbers, if you're not really
absolutely.
It's easy to underestimate how much it costs and what you need to be thinking about.
Absolutely. And sometimes a service, it's hard to quantify a service. Right. Products, kind of easier. You buy water, you buy glass, you buy
each item and the number for it. Right.
Correct.
Right.
So just getting, being one with your numbers, understanding your financial statements.
Yeah.
What's a P&L statement? What does that mean? Right. When can I anticipate to break even? What does that mean? And how to manage some of that.
And how to really plan for it as well, right?
Correct.
What your goals are around it. Cool. So, fun question. Being an employee versus being an entrepreneur. Biggest wins or excitements or exciting things about it, and biggest challenges?
That's a very, 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 very good question. That's an incredibly good question. All right, so.
Okay. Well, do you miss? Do you miss being an employee? And then sometimes you say, I wish.
Not at this time.
Okay.
Not at this time.
Okay.
But again, everybody's situation is different, right? So having a very supportive wife helps, right? When you're starting to doubt yourself, and she's like, "Come on, man, you got this." And then you start to think, I think I do. Right. So that helps.
Okay.
I don't miss driving in Houston traffic.
Oh God.
So that in itself is a big win. Yeah. So that's one.
Yeah.
Secondly, just being able to call the shots, from a very objective place, because in corporate, I'm sure you know just as well as I do, there are a lot of political decisions that are made, a lot of subjective calls that the executive management makes, and sometimes they flirt with that, your ethical beliefs, and you just kind of like, just caught up within just. Why
and you have no say because it's not really about you. It's just about whatever decisions are made before.
Absolutely. Oftentimes I felt like a pawn. Just move here and do this, and come back here and redo it, and you just have to do it. So I don't miss that.
Yeah.
And it's been an incredible learning experience for me.
Okay.
I've met a lot of good people. Met a lot of resources that
and this is with you planning doing your own thing.
Yes. So it's been a very enriching experience that I'll do it over in a heartbeat.
Really?
Sooner than I started. I mean, now knowing what I know now, I would definitely have started earlier.
Really?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. It's been an enriching process, and you think. I mean, most of the times you just have to push the limits. Right. To realize your true potential.
The potential that's there. And I think that's the thing, right? If you don't do it, nothing is going to happen, right? You have to
status quo.
So. Okay. I'm sure that's inspiring because I know personally, I'm just like, oh, okay, that's nice to hear someone else say that because if you're having the thought out there, you're probably thinking it might be unreasonable for you to do that when you have a good job or something that's going well. Thanks for sharing that. Right. So now, married 2 years, do you think about kids? First of all, do your parents, because that's something our culture does very well, have they started asking you or your wife about kids?
Yes. But again, we've been very fortunate. Okay. My wife is back in school working on her PhD.
Okay, nice.
And
fantastic.
she still has a full-time job.
Wow.
Right. Okay. So, and they understand that it's incredibly tasking to
do all of that.
And doing very well.
Yeah.
Right. So they've asked. And we've kind of given them a timeline as to what this is going to look like. Yeah. So we try to manage their expectations and
make sure that they're available to babysit.
Oh, that was number one.
Right, but you're asking.
Yeah. So this is what you're signing up for, right? Yeah. So we've managed expectations decently enough. Okay. And
that is cool. That is cool. Once you can have that sort of space where everyone can mind their own business for a while.
Oh, they're not entirely minding it.
But they're letting you breathe.
Yes.
They're letting you breathe and sort of figure it out, and then you can wait patiently in the corner somewhere.
And that's all you can ask for, right? Just let us breathe some.
Yeah. So I just went back. I'm going back to your two sisters. Are they here now?
Yes.
Yeah, so they.
Well, I have 3 sisters. I have 2.
Right, I mean the two older ones that
Yes.
didn't come with you initially.
Yes, they're here now.
So they're here now. So you have your entire family here.
Yes, I do.
Do you go back to Nigeria often?
Not very often. Well, before I got married, I try to go every couple years, every 2 or 3 years.
Why? Why would you?
So before I got married, some of my siblings still live there.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had an incentive.
Yeah. To visit.
And I have extended family as well.
Okay.
So kill one bird. With,
Kill 2 birds.
Two,
Like one bird, 2 stones.
There you go.
Like just kill the bird.
Murder that bad boy. Yeah.
But I got you.
Right. So they're here now,
Yeah.
and it's been a while, but I do plan on visiting very soon. And
Yeah.
people in Nigeria in particular have asked about Jollof Republic.
That's where I was going to eventually get to.
Yes, so
Right.
I've had people ask me, what is this? We're on your website.
Yeah.
This is pretty neat. This is
Pretty
cool.
Right.
Do you plan to launch it in the
Because
country?
that would be something that we, especially for when you talk about career fairs and you talk about really personal development or business development, especially what you do as well, that could be a way to really educate people about finances. I mean, there's so much that you could do. Now I'm thinking of all the ideas.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So
Yes.
do you think about launching and eventually stretching over there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we do have, we've been approached by an institutional investor
Nice.
who's, really keen on,
Mm-hmm.
launching not just in Nigeria, but in 2 or 3 other countries.
Nice.
Right.
Nice.
So
That is pretty cool.
yeah. So
That is
we're
pretty
still in discussions.
Right.
Everything, it's all in its infancy. Which I'm trying to weigh, pros and cons and figure what's best.
What makes sense for you, right.
So
That is pretty cool.
yeah.
So if you were to say your big dream for Jollof Republic, what would that be?
Everybody talks more about Jollof than Facebook.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right. Everybody.
Everybody.
Not just people with a colorful heritage.
Everybody wants to
Everybody.
have a piece of that cultural
The spice.
You know what I'm talking
the
about?
spice.
Yes.
Everybody wants to look at that extra
It's
sizzle.
like, that
Got
Jollof
you.
Republic is
Okay.
selling neat.
Okay, that is pretty cool. I mean, big dreams.
Yeah, it's my big dreams, right?
You have to have them. They have to be so big that you actually find yourself a little nervous. So that's good.
Yeah.
So, do you see yourself between, of course, your daytime, full-time, financial business and Jollof Republic? Ideally, if you were to say, this would be the one I focus on, and I love, and I want to do this. And of course, you're doing both, and you love both now. But which one would you pick?
So I think it's the other way.
Okay.
Jollof Republic is my full-time.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And
So
then the other
the
one is-
finances is what I did to fund Jollof Republic.
Ah, got
yeah.
you.
So
Got
yeah,
you. Okay.
it's secondary.
Was that always that way? Because you had the finance thing first.
Yeah, I had the finance thing
And
first,
then
but
Jollof
yeah, how you
Republic.
stepping
Yeah.
out in faith?
Yeah.
You're like, oh Lord,
This is, and then.
this is what I know.
Yeah.
So let me start with what I know.
Right.
Let me have a client, and then 2 clients.
Yeah.
3 clients.
So when you started the finance thing, was Jollof Republic in the back?
It
of your
was.
head?
It was
Okay.
absolutely yes.
All right.
Yes.
So it had been in the back of your head for a while. It was
Yes.
just a way to get there.
Right. And we launched. This is the second launch.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first launch was just to get market feedback. It was just a dating platform.
Ah,
That's
got
all we
you.
had.
All right.
While we drew the architecture to everything
Do
else.
something else.
Right.
Okay.
So second go, we have dating, restaurants,
Businesses.
events, and
events
the
and
directory.
all that.
Right.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So now we think of going to the future, and you're building this, and you go to Nigeria and other countries, and it's growing.
Yes.
And do you ever see yourself moving away from the U.S.?
I never say never.
Yeah.
I'm always open to the right opportunity.
Right. Because if something happens and it blows up, and
Yes.
everyone in Africa is talking about this, and this
Right,
is the thing,
right.
I mean, would you still see yourself living here if it's not that big here?
I haven't thought that far yet.
Okay.
But I'm certainly not opposed
So
to
that-
picking up and relocating.
Right.
Yeah.
And having your family grow up somewhere else.
Right.
Okay. So with your dad, for instance, I think I asked you earlier if he ever thinks of moving back, because sometimes there is a fantasy our parents have about retiring in Nigeria. Do your parents have a similar fantasy?
I don't think it's a fantasy per se.
Okay.
They're fine with visiting back and forth.
Okay.
So they go for extended periods of time and come back.
Come back here.
Yeah.
So by coastal, by choice.
Right.
But
so
not like pack up and go stay there.
As unstable as that country has been, especially in recent times.
That is true.
I think the appetite to just retire back there has, faded.
It's faded a little bit. What, ideally, if you had dreams for, well, not if, but when you have kids, would you want them to experience Nigeria like you did when you were younger? Is that something you think about or care about?
So it depends on the state of the country at the time.
All right.
Things have changed.
Yeah, but if just a dream fantasy, if we're to say things are actually good and okay, is that something you think of? I would want my children to have that experience.
I think it'll be natural, right? Especially given the vision of Jollof Republik.
Exactly.
It's going to be embedded in the entire family.
Right. They're going to wake up and be like, oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be cultural. Right,
shirts.
exactly. Right, so they're going to want to see for themselves. Can we go see some countries?
Right. But seeing and living there are different, right? Because there will be American-born people.
Right.
Kids. Right. So to go visit is one, but really like, hey guys, I want you guys to come and experience and live here for a bit.
All right, so I'll be completely honest.
Uh-huh.
That question can only be answered by my wife.
Oh, I love it. Hey, I love it. That is fair.
I can say one thing and she's like, boy.
That's not going to happen.
Right.
Which is great. That's fantastic because there's some men that are like, this is what I want. I want this and this is how. Then she'll be working on trying to understand and maybe adjust to what you're saying versus you deferring to her. So that is kudos.
So thank you. Yeah.
Winning point. So that's great. But of course that's not in the plan now. We're just focused on the business.
Right.
Really, really awesome as you plan to, well, what's the next step for Jollof Republik? I mean, is it spreading, kind of going to other locations, or are there additional things you want to add to the site?
Right, so currently we're trying to get the word out in the Houston market. Okay. Right, because it's a lot of, culture, it's a lot of Africans in the Houston market, and then we'll hope to grow and saturate all of Texas, get out to Austin and then Dallas. And the one thing that we've heard a lot of is job opportunities. Is there a way to just have people aware who are looking to find jobs or change careers? Is there a way we can have jobs posted? So we're still gathering what people feedback from a lot of people who are currently using the app, and then we're debating what's going to be a part of this, because essentially all it is to help everybody be better, ensure all the ships rise, right? So that's kind of what this is. And if people are saying, this is where we're having problems or challenges, you want to be able to be that vehicle to
respond to the needs where they are, and really just become aware of the needs and then respond to them appropriately. Pretty cool. So we're gonna wrap up a little bit. For those watching, where can they find you and your businesses?
Well, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, at Jollof Republik. Jollof Republik is JOLLOF REPUBLIK.
Not C.
Not C. Jollof Republik with a K. Follow us, tag us, shoot us an email, questions if you have. You can reach us at info@jollofrepublic.com. And if you download the app and get 10 other people to download it, you get a gift from us.
Nice. Okay. When they get 10 other people to download it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. Great. And the financial stuff, because you mentioned if someone was trying to start a business, they could also reach out to you. So when do we get that? Absolutely.
So my financial business is called Perite Financial Consultants. You can find us online at www.peritefc.com. It's PERITEFC.com.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Try to wrap up by giving my guests an opportunity to ask me a question. I know that kind of puts you on the spot because you have no idea that that's coming. But so you have the platform to ask me whatever question may come to mind.
Fantastic. All right, cool. Thanks. Are you ready?
I'm not sure. You have to adjust yourself. So now I'm a little nervous. Okay, let me get situated. Let's go.
So so I might have more than one question.
That is fine. You are, so for everyone watching, this is my finale episode for the year. So yes, you can ask me multiple questions because I always ask everybody else about things, so go for it.
Right. Well, and thanks for saving the best for last. I mean, it only makes sense, right?
Only makes sense.
Okay, so just out of curiosity, who is launching your podcast, who is your primary target audience?
My primary target audience are young Africans who may have just transitioned recently or who are here and in a way actually the same target you're looking at.
Okay.
And may not necessarily have the community or the access to people that they're seeking or that they're looking for. I also think there is a part of this audience or part of this podcast would be applicable to those who are curious and not even of African descent, but have no concept. Or maybe they're dating someone who's African and now they just have no idea, and this is just a way to expand their scope of influence, of contact, of information. So ideally it would be us, but I also think it's beneficial for those who may not know or may not hear, because there are lots of interesting conversations. I mean, what you're doing, there could also be a young person out there who is, at home in Nigeria or somewhere and thinking of starting a business or now curious about Jollof Republik and would know your business. So there's just an array of options of who this could appeal to.
Okay.
And after that, I find that I haven't been very focused on who. Okay. It's just the what that's been a big deal to me. Gotcha.
Okay, and where do you see this going? I mean, I think it's a great idea, a great project. I know, and it's a passion project for you as well.
It's a passion project. Yeah, this is definitely a passion project. Where do I see it going? On one hand, I would like to go to the UK and talk to a bunch of people out there as well. Okay. I would like to, at some point, maybe go to Australia and talk to a lot of people out there, because I think a lot of people from the African continent that go to the Western world have very similar experiences, and we don't really talk about it. There is a part of me that would like, I don't know, CNN, Netflix, someone, and I get to do a documentary for them or somewhere, or BBC. I mean, where I get to travel to other African continents or talk to African immigrants in different countries. Right. There are people in India. There was the BBC episode of, the girls in India and prostitution. There are people in Italy. There are lots of people having interesting experiences, and we don't even know about those things unless there's a little snippet of a news article. But I would like something focused on this community, because I think there is a huge need for it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Well, that wasn't bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. That was 2 questions. Thank you so much, and for you guys watching, thank you again for joining us. I am Ezewai Abi, and this is Foshty. As always, you can find us on Foshty, FOSHTY_TY on social media. And as always, this is Foshty. Thank you, and bye guys.
Thank you.